Hello, good afternoon, and welcome everybody. As the title of this site event says, how your respective companies are innovating to decarbonation.
Thank you very much, Frida. And thank you very much to the Spanish Pavilion in COP28 to invite us to be part of this initiative to explain the importance of the innovation as a lever for the decarbonization. My name is Juan Luis Pozo. I am the Chief Sustainability Officer of Global Onion, which is the commercial brand of Aguas de Valencia and all certified subsidiary company. Next year, Aguas de Valencia will be 135 years old. Global Onion has three main activities: managing the water cycle, which is our core business, where we are the 10th largest operator worldwide, managing tourism activity based on the protection of biodiversity, where we are the 7th largest tourist operator by number of visitors in Spain, with close to 2 million visitors, thanks to Oceanography Valencia and Aquarius Seville. Finally, managing innovation through our technological and international brand, Hydrica, which is present in several countries, mainly in the USA, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Angola, and Mexico. We are committed to decarbonization for two basic reasons. Firstly, because we manage a scarce natural resource, water, and sustainability is in our DNA. And secondly, because we are one of the United Nations benchmarks in the conservation and preservation of the lives of in our seas and oceans. For these reasons, Global Onion launched its Innovation Hub a few years ago, where we had a specialist team exclusively for innovation. At Go Hub, which is the name of the hub, more than 200 people work today. These professionals are focused in two main matters. First, climate change, developing solutions as physical as virtual ones. Second, digital transformation, implementing solutions to achieve the biggest efficiency of any activity. Both we have incorporated the artificial intelligence like all warriors to face with guarantee the fight against climate crisis. For example, Valencia is now the most water-efficient city in Europe with real-time metering. Thanks to the technology developed for Global Onion, that cities such as New York, Houston, Hong Kong, Toronto, and Mexico City are now implementing with us. Another example is that we are developing a new process to produce biochar with green hydrogen, which is one of all the best for carbon capture, use, and storage. In this point, I want to reuse the concept of innovation. I think that innovation is equal to long-term capital, that at the same time is a division quotient between the long-term thinking and the vision of our strategy, something that greenwashing will never make offer. By the way, greenwashing statement offers the division quotient between the short-term solution and the outcomes. Otherwise, this statement will never seem interesting. Like I say, innovation is our commitment and our lever to achieve our decarbonization. We believe that decarbonization levers are the tool that we need to use to reduce emissions, to offset our footprint, and to help our cities and municipalities to achieve climate targets. We are developing decarbonization projects that include blue carbon, soil carbon, natural-based solutions, or capture carbon with biochar, and many biodiversity investments. At blue carbon, we believe that the global stock take must include consideration of the distribution and diversity of marine life. We work every day to make true this commitment. We need the ocean, and the ocean needs us. More than 90% of marine life could face extinction by 2100 years if greenhouse gas emissions are not curbed. The ocean has absorbed as much as 30% of carbon dioxide emission generated by human activity. Our Oceanographic Foundation in Valencia invests hardly in research, development, and innovation to make the most of all technology to mitigate, adapt, and conserve natural life in the Mediterranean Sea. For example, with the recovery of Posidonian meadows. On the other hand, we increase and prepare a workforce with essential knowledge and skill that will be needed to operate and manage the new technology that will permit advance in the transition to a green economy. Thanks to artificial intelligence, we have developed our Go2A platform, the platform that we have tested in several cities and a lot of national and international projects has 3 tools, and the conception of the platform is under our innovation slogan. Our is action for water, adaptation, and resilience. The most important tool is GoAsset, a tool designed to facilitate the adaptation process of all cities and municipalities by planning for all climate risk scenarios. These climate risk scenarios are integrated with the life cycle analysis of all infrastructure in terms of the actual impact of the capacity and resilience of any city's infrastructure, based on continuous and ongoing life cycle analysis and simulated vulnerability to keep their performance viable and feasible. It provides the necessary information to finance plan investment that we need to maintain resilience along the time. And finally, we had created a global network of public and private stakeholders where they can share knowledge and technological solutions. This network is called the Resilience and Sustainability Cities Observatory. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the Fundación Energía y Clima for the invitation. My name is José Entre Canales. I'm Chief Financial and Sustainability Officer at Acciona Energía. Let me start by describing a bit of what our company does. Acciona is a developer of renewable energy projects. We have over 12 gigawatts in operational capacity of wind and solar PV projects across 20 countries, and we're also developers of large civil infrastructure projects, from transport to water and electricity transmission lines. So decarbonization is at the core of what we do. We are providers of decarbonization solutions to many of our clients. It is very fundamental to our strategy and to what we do every day. Over 90% of our CapEx at Acciona is compliant with the European taxonomy. If you look at the energy business within Acciona Energía, that's 100% of our CapEx. Over 2 billion euros of CapEx every year is compliant with European taxonomy. So it's really at the core of what we do. On top of that, we are committed to the Science Based Targets Initiative. We've committed to a target to reduce our Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions by 60% by 2030 and 90% by 2040. Scope 3 by 47% by 2030 and 90% by 2050. So ambitious goals in terms of reducing our own emissions as well as our clients. To achieve those objectives, we've developed a few tools, a few ideas that we think are quite relevant to be, and that are for companies like us to implement, and which have been very helpful in getting that way. One is developing an annual carbon budget, which is assigned not only at a department level, but at a project level. It is a real budget that is set ex ante and is analyzed and is a restrictive element on how the projects can be developed. Number 2 is setting a real internal carbon price. We have a price since 2016 of around €7.50 per ton of CO2. That is a real cash contribution from every business within the group to a single carbon fund that is then subsequently used to fund decarbonization projects. There's an application, an auction system where people within the company can present projects to use those funds that have been contributed by the businesses themselves to fund innovative projects that have a decarbonization objective in mind. Number 4, which is also key, is our sustainability objectives are also taken into account and have a real impact in the variable compensation of all our employees. So about 12% of our variable compensation is linked to sustainability objectives. And that, of course, really drives behavior within the business. So as I was saying, it is sustainability and decarbonization is very much at the core of our activity. We do face challenges, and we have several in particular which we're grappling with, as the whole industry and the whole world is grappling with. We found that Scope 2, Scope 2 can be challenged or can be tackled with, I won't say with relative ease, but there's a path for those for those emissions derived from Scope 2. There's a path to decarbonize those through guarantees of origin, and we've been relatively successful at that. Where we do find challenges, or more expensive challenges, is in decarbonizing Scope 1 and Scope 3 emissions. In Scope 1, in our case, in our construction business, replacing our fuel consumption with synthetic fuels, with HVO, with methanol, that is not as straightforward. There's, as you know, not plentiful. The supply of those fuels is difficult to come by and therefore expensive. So that is a challenge. And of course, Scope 3, not only measuring Scope 3 and knowing what you're trying to reduce, but also being able to reduce, particularly in our case, our emissions derived from cement use, from steel use, and for transportation use, from shipping in our logistical supply chain. So those are some of the main challenges that Javier will probably resonate with you, that we're facing. In terms of innovation, we're investing in many initiatives, in many new technologies. As you will imagine, we're investing heavily in hydrogen, investing in battery storage, we're investing in circular economy initiatives for recycling. So there are plenty of new technologies that we're trying to develop. But the message I wanted to bring to this forum is the fact that I'm convinced that the technologies to decarbonize our economy exist. We have them available. When people talk about geoengineering in the future and technologies that we don't have readily available today, I cringe, and I feel that it's a bit of optimistic thinking. I wish that were the case, but if it's not the case, we need to be prepared for the worst. So the technologies are there. What we need to happen, both for for new technologies and for mature technologies, if we want to accelerate that decarbonization, is to debalance or play with the demand-supply equilibrium. Demand-supply for these technologies, for all including wind and solar, is in equilibrium, and we know that equilibrium is not sufficient to get to the objective that we need to get to by 2030. We are all very focused on the supply side of the equation, on getting to a tripling of renewable energy capacity by 2030. But there's little talk about the demand side. And if we can achieve a sufficiently high price for both new technologies and mature technologies, the private sector will react. Private capital will be mobilized in much greater amounts than what we're seeing today. For wind and solar projects, we complain a lot about permitting, we complain a lot about how long it takes to develop a project. But the reality is that if there were such a shortage of projects, those projects that do make it through and that do get to operation, they would be achieving abnormal returns, super high returns. That is not the case today. Those projects are getting, in OECD countries, single-digit returns. In non-OECD countries, maybe low double-digit returns. That is not sufficient for the risk that is embedded in that business. If we want that to accelerate, we need to provide a higher price signal. What does that mean? That means electrification. That means incentives for hydrogen. That means increased industry or increased uses of renewable energy for synthetic fuels. We need to be very conscious that there's a role that policy and regulators need to play in not only thinking about the demand side and on the supply side, but thinking about the demand side with the intention of providing a price signal that is strong enough for the whole private sector to accelerate. This is not going to be achieved alone by the public sector, and we need the private sector to really mobilize. And the way to do that is through, as it's always been, through price in a capitalistic system. Thank you.
morning, everyone. Thank you very much, the Fundación Empresa y Clima, for the opportunity being here in this nice side event in the Spanish Pavilion. My name is Javier Cervera. I'm the head of energy transition in Balearia, and I represent the Alliance Net Zero Mar that has been constituted this year in Spain with more than 50 companies in the whole value chain of the decarbonization of the maritime, the shipping, and the ports that are completely related because of we need the port to provide energy to the shipping. What about the shipping? The shipping is the 3%, near 3% of the emissions in the world, but we move near 90% of the goods. We are the most efficient transport in the world, but we are emitting and we know that we have to reduce. We have already objectives from the European Union, and we have already from July objectives from the International Maritime Organization. Just in July in London was the sector fully around the world telling that we have to be neutral near 2050. That means complicated. Why complicated? Because more than 99% of the fuel that currently we use on the shipping, it's petrol. And we have vessels. We change the vessels every 30 years, not like a car every 10 years. So this is a factor really important and difficult for the decarbonization. It's really important, this alliance, because we are with 4 groups analyzing the options for the decarbonization of the port, to connect the vessels in 2030, because it's an obligation from the European Commission, to switch off the engines on the docks. So we need a lot of electrifications arriving to the port. I mean a lot, thousands of megawatts, for example, in Spain. And this is in the next 7 years. So we need lines, we need transport, and we need the connections and the power there. What about the shipping? The shipping, we need alternative fuels, alternative that substitute the fossil ones. The decarbonize that we are listening is the methanol, it's the ammonia, it's the synthetic methane, some biofuels, very reduced because of the volume. We use biofuels, sustainably biofuels, according to the European Commission, with waste, basically. We can't use energy crops, for example, so this is really important. We are watching that methanol is one option. I'm really happy being in the same seat that our president 4 days ago announcing 1 billion euros of a nice methanol project in Huelva. So methanol is an option with renewable hydrogen and CO2, but we have another options. The problem that I'm telling you is the renewable energy. If we take all the renewable energy produced in the world with solar and wind, currently, a bit more than 3,000 terawatts around the world, we need twice to decarbonize the shipping sector, twice than the current renewables that we have around the world. I mean, it's really huge. Acciona has 12 gigawatts of renewable. The sector needs 6,000 gigawatts of solar to decarbonize. This is the problem of the shipping, that really we need to substitute the fossil, but we need to the efficiency. And now I'm coming with Balearia. Balearia is a Spanish company. We are owning ferries, moving cargo and passengers between the peninsula and the Balear Islands, the north of Africa, Ceuta and Melilla, Canary Islands, and we have a line in Miami, Grand Bahama. And we announced yesterday a line between Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. We have been doing already reductions. From 7 years ago, we decided to start with natural gas. Natural gas is fossil, but emits 25–30% less than the petrol. That means the 10, near 11 ferries, big ones that we own on the fleet, we are emitting more than 25–30 less emissions than another similar petrol vessel. But we are not stopping only in that, because with these reductions, we accomplish with the European and international objectives until 2035. But we don't want to stop now and waiting for that. We are searching and investing in biomethane that is the substitute using waste of the natural gas, and we can reduce. Not only that, for the natural gas ferries that we own, we are investing in electrification. Just this year, we have put on the sea the first electric vessel in Spain and in the Mediterranean. It's doing the route between Ibiza and Formentera, nice Spanish islands. And it's fully electric. We have batteries, and at the moment, we produce electricity recharging on the sea because of Ibiza and Formentera has, at the moment, fossil fuels, diesel fuels producing the electricity. But the vessel is ready to be fully decarbonized in 2030. Other thing is efficiency. We invest in innovation, for example, in this new line that our president announced yesterday, Energy Day in the conference, but he was in Dominican Republic. We are going to invest $100 million in a new route between Republic Dominican and Puerto Rico. And we are moving an LNG vessel that we hope to fill as soon as possible, blending biomethane. Why this is innovation? Because we have been searching during 1.5 years a route where we can move a bigger vessel, so every truck that we carry on board between the islands is emitting less. This is efficiency according to the emissions per unit that you transport. And it's natural gas, that means already the technology to implement as soon as possible the biogas, biomethane on board. So I have explained you about the alliance. It's important because we have really important objectives around the world, and in Spain we have agreed many companies in the value chains to do that together. And about Balearia, that we are a Spanish company, the leader in the ferry, moving cargo and passengers, and this is that we are doing from 7 years ago, that now take advantage for the current objectives that the European Union and International Maritime Company is getting us to the sector. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank Spain Pavilion for inviting us, and Fundación Empresa y Clima, especially Elvira Carlas, for organizing it. It's an honor to be here with all of you talking about this innovation, this important thing. And I would like to start by giving a bit of information about who we are. Cementos Molins has been a family company since 1928 and listed on the stock exchange, and with high aspirations to keep growing. That means an ambition to transitioning and decarbonizing our products. And we want to promote the development of the society by creating innovative and sustainable solutions throughout the value chain, the construction sector. To get there, in 2 points. We are currently present in 9 countries, 4 continents, and our focus in material and building solutions, which includes cement and aggregates, and concrete, mortars, precast, urban space, and waste management. As you see, we are vertically integrated and closing the entire life cycle of our products from the start to the end of life. As cement sector, we are responsible for about 7-8 in CO2 emissions, as concrete is the second most used material by mankind after water. We do have a roadmap to reach net zero, concrete net zero, and we need a bit of basically acting in energy, materials, technology, and also biodiversity. We know how to do it, but we can do alone. And let me come back later to this point. I'll just explain our targets and levers to do it. No? In energy, we are investing in renewable energy. By 2030, our goal is to reach 55% of renewables, and countries as Spain run it on over 75-100%. In relation with fuels, we are moving from fossil fuels to non-fossil fuels, as biomass and sewage sludge, in waste management, tires. I think that we are analyzing other ways to move, and the cement industry is taking a crucial role in the circular economy, with the added benefit of cleaning landfills. No? And you know the landfills nowadays is a sort of emission, is the third emission of methane. We are also innovating in decarbonized materials, such as calcined clay, and working in demolition waste, recycling aggregates and activators, reducing our emissions and also the consumption of materials. As an example, we're producing the concrete of the new Barça Stadium in lower carbon concrete, and recycling all the concrete from the old stadium and using it as aggregate. We also need to unlock breakthrough technologies, such as carbon capture, to reach net zero. It's possible to capture 90% of the residual emissions that after other reductions have been made. No? We're analyzing different alternatives to carbon capture to put in place. This is aligned with European Union plan that has targeted to store more than 50 million tons by 2030 and more than another 500 million tons by 2050. We're also working in the use of these carbon CO2 emissions to produce solutions as synthetic fuels and other alternative fuels. We're collaborating with different partners to make that possible. And finally, we're taking advantage of our portfolio of materials and building solutions to improve building efficiency, smart concrete, thermal insulation mortars, evolving 2D and 3D modular precast solutions, helping to decarbonize the value chain. But we need to transmit a sense of urgency, and make things happen. And we like to emphasize 2 points. Transitioning to become climate neutral requires a direct collaboration across the value chain. Need collaboration between companies, stakeholders, suppliers. Here, the role of administration and governments is key through changes in rules, policies, structural codes, legislation, and shorten the time of approval. The financing and the infrastructure is needed also key. For example, carbon capture storage requires a clear regulatory and permit environment from pipelines and storage. This is the time for the government to contribute to keep their industry competitive. And the other point that I would like to emphasize is it's essential to create a demand, a market for sustainable products. And it's essential for this to establish a cost of CO2 around the world, as we have in Europe, or could be the more friendly in USA. We need public and private commitments to stimulate the demand for low emissions cement and concrete. And we should remember that 3/4 of the infrastructures that will exist in 2050 has yet to be built. This is a challenge for all of us, and we need to work together to achieve it. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Elvira. Thank you, Fundación Empresa y Clima and the Spanish Pavilion for inviting us to be here and to share a little bit about our expertise and to share with you our knowledge about environmental markets. Just a few lines about what we do and who we are. So STX Group is a leading global environmental trader and climate solutions provider. We have been at the forefront of the transition of the world towards a low carbon economy for the last 20 years. By leveraging our expertise to actually precisely price emissions and renewable certificates and pollution in general, we're helping to build a trust on climate-based market solutions. Now, recently, STX acquired Vertis Environmental Finance, which is a pioneering company also with more than 25 years experience in carbon markets, in regulatory markets, and voluntary markets. We are over 600 people across the globe. We have offices, our headquarters in Amsterdam, but we have offices in New York, in Mexico, in London, in Singapore, so we can have a global solution to this problem. We work with more than 5,000 partners, and let's say in terms of trading, our P&L is around 4 billion euros. Now, within STX, we have Strive by STX, which is the climate action arm of the group. We believe the decarbonization of the world is possible, and our clients, industrials, transportation companies, hard-to-abate sectors are already in that race to decarbonize, and we want to help them. We empower them to transform the environmental challenges they have, as you can hear today, into business opportunities. Now, what we do is we are able to engage with clients no matter where they are in the journey to decarbonization, to understand where they stand and how they can benefit from using environmental markets. Now, some of the key environmental commodities that we're working on is energy efficiency, for example, on energy efficiency certificates, renewable energy certificates, biogas, biomethane, biofuels as well as verified carbon credits or compliance markets like EU ETS. Now, I will base my speech in 2-3 key main takeaways for today. So the first thing is about the benefits of the environmental markets that they can bring to corporates. And then the second is going to be the innovation that is already happening in those markets. And we see, innovative approaches that is happening. First, about environmental markets, what we see is that, by putting a price to the green value, to the certificates, what we're doing is we are so by providing the pricing to the certificates, we're helping clients to reduce emissions efficiently, right? And by having that cost efficiency, the companies can actually save money and that they can invest in innovation. Now, so recently, the problem with environmental markets is that they have been very, very volatile. What you can see, for example, in carbon markets in the ETS, is that during the last 5 years, prices in 2018 were around 4 or 5 euros. Now they increased up to 80 or 100 euros in just 5 years. That's a multiply of 17 times. That's huge volatility. Now, but if you see that this is a lot of volatility and price increase, if we look into the renewable energy certificates, you see that the multiplication is 50 times. It went from half a euro, 30 cents, to 6, 7, 8 euros. So this is a lot of risk. And it also happening in new commodities like biomethane, right? Which is multiplying times 10. Now, price instability and insecurity hampers innovation because companies will not invest in these markets if they don't know their returns, right? And if this is typically for immature markets, but fast-growing markets like this one. So as corporates need certainty to protect their business as well, we see a change in the market. While these markets were very, very short-term, 1 year, hey, I want just to buy a certificate or carbon credit for 1 year, now we see a change in this. As companies, they start to have net zero targets, 5, 7, 10 years from now, what we see is that their purchasing habits are changing, right? They look for more long-term agreements where they can secure volumes, when they can secure prices, and at the same time secure the cash flows, which is very, very important for the corporates. Now, these kind of deals are not happening only in renewable energy certificates, for example, but also biomethane, biogas, right? We have, for example, public transport bus companies that they just committed to have LNG buses, and they just fill in just to claim the green gas with biomethane agreements that are 5, 10 years from now. This helps them to commit to the net zero and to comply with the renewable energy strategy. So also what we see is that there is energy efficiency markets that are coming, for example, in Spain, right? What we see now is that the environmental markets are connected globally, right? This is also an opportunity for corporates. Corporates that have a global footprint and they have, let's say, installations all around the world, now they can benefit from regulations that are happening all over the world. We see local governments applying new regulations that this leads to new commodities that could be used global or local So what is happening is that these different products have different prices, different volatilities. And if companies can map all these regulations and products, obviously they can reach cost efficiency as well on their purchases, again leading to potential investment in innovation. But it's not only about the pricing, also there is an interconnection between renewable energy certificates or biomethane or energy efficiency. We see that in Spain, as I was mentioning. Recently, 3 months ago, the Spanish government launched the energy efficiency certificate scheme. What this means is that corporates that can generate energy efficiency projects and benefit by, for every megawatt hour that is actually reducing emissions and being more efficient, they can get a certificate they can sell in the market, improving the ROI of any project. Now, at the same time, for example, the Spanish government just launched the PERTE subvention, which is bringing, I think, more than 500 million into industrials that they want to decarbonize and make emission reduction projects or energy efficiency projects. And what is happening is that potentially these projects not only can benefit from this subvention, but if you map the standards in energy efficiency or even in international carbon credits, there is a double benefit there, improving their ROI, because they can actually generate credits, sell them in the market, and get an extra finance. So just to conclude, so this is the benefits of the environmental markets, that they can secure the green claims at a cost-efficient way, that increases the chance to reinvest in innovation and bring competitive advantages to those that use them at a global scale and are holistically, locally interconnected. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by thanking as well Fundación Empresa y Clima and the Spanish Pavilion for the invitation, and particularly to you, Elvira Carles, for your leadership. I'm here representing Naturgy. Naturgy is an integrated gas and power company. We have mainly 3 lines of businesses. One is power generation. The other one is networks management, both power networks and gas networks. And a third line of business, which is retail and wholesale and trading of energy. We operate in more than 20 countries and serving 20+ million users on a regular basis. Thinking about decarbonization and trying not to repeat some of the messages that have been already said, I'd like to focus on what Naturgy is going to do, and is doing actually, to fulfill the pledge of reaching net zero by 2050, all right? And particularly on what Jose was mentioning before, which is Scope 3. This is the name of the game in terms of the emissions for us, and this is an area in which we are doing a lot of things that involve innovation. In the interest of time, and to get straight to the bone, 3 ideas that we want to convey to you, and that we are focusing as well in terms of investment and in terms of innovation. First one, green molecules. If we divide the energy transition in 2 halves, we can say, from 2000 to 2025, and from 2025 to 2050, which is the important date in order to reach net zero, right? So we think that in this second half of the energy transition, green molecules are going to be the cornerstone of the efforts in terms of decarbonization. As you know, natural gas today is an extremely important source of energy, almost irreplaceable for decades. It plays a major role on power generation. It plays a major role on heating. We think that this is something to take into consideration as a starting point when we think about this second half of the energy transition. The good news here is that the gas sector has started a process of gradual decarbonization through green molecules, right? On the one hand, biomethane. Biomethane is biogas upgraded that can be injected into the network with a 0 carbon footprint, basically, coming out of waste. It's a perfect circular economy product. And in Spain, actually, the analysis that we have done is that it has a potential to decarbonize at least half of the current gas demand. It's important this because in terms of magnitudes, natural gas, according to the last figures of the minister, in terms of energy consumption was 43.5% of the final mix of consumption. So It's a main area of potential decarbonization. With biomethane, we could solve half of this problem if we put the right framework in place. The other important thing is green hydrogen. It's something that maybe might come a bit later, but it's something in terms of green molecules that help to fully decarbonize the gas demand. Second idea behind these decarbonization efforts is that we see a future that is hybrid. We don't see renewable electricity and renewable gas as something separate. We see a world in which both energy vectors are going to be combined. It's not either or, it's one and the other. Not only because the magnitude of the decarbonization that we are facing is huge, but also because we are seeing that at the customer premises, in many occasions, combining electrons and molecules provides the best economic and decarbonizing tool at the right cost, right? So it's important when we think about this future not to see it on black and white. I'm saying this because sometimes we don't see the energy solutions with the right technological neutral approach. And it's important when we think about solutions in order to decarbonize the energy consumption to look at it under the right lens of neutrality. Let solutions compete, and let's see what is the combination of gas and power that better delivers decarbonization solutions at the best cost. Third idea, consumers. Consumers many times are the long time forgotten in this equation of decarbonization. The claim of this COP21 is unite, act, and deliver, right? I think this unite is very well placed at the beginning of this theme. When we think about unite, we think about the people that is going to be doing, enjoying, and maybe suffering as well this energy transition. We don't want to leave anybody behind. So we have to put back consumers at the driving seat of the energy transition. If we want to have support for the energy transition, or at least not opposition. So we think that it's important to let them choose what is best for them, given the different options that we have. I just would like to conclude with a message that I think of optimism, given that we are in the Spanish pavilion, a message of optimism thinking about the second half of the energy transition. I think Spain is very well positioned both for the biomethane revolution and the green hydrogen revolution. We have, I think, the potential, we have the tools, we have the skills. So I think we can take advantage of this revolution that is coming to complete successfully the energy transition that we are demanding. Thank you very much.
Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody. I will start again. Thank you, Elvira Carlas, Fundación Empresa y Clima, the Spanish Pavilion, for inviting us to share this panel with these amazing companies. I will start saying that I'm director of the We Are Water Foundation, and the We Are Water Foundation is an initiative launched by Roca Group in 2010. So our case, it's completely different from the rest of organizations, since we don't produce or sell any product, but we just bring access to water and sanitation to all those communities that don't have this access. So basically, what we do is to focus especially on those communities that are least responsible for the emission of greenhouse gases, so climate change, and yet they are the ones who suffer the most its consequences. So I will take just a few minutes to talk about 3 different concepts that are very important for us and how we work with them. First one is mitigation, so how countries or communities are going to reduce gas emissions. Cities are consuming 78% of the world's energy and produce more than 60% of greenhouse gas emissions. Our role here, beyond using solar energy to pump water instead of other types of fossil energy, is none other than giving the rural world the opportunity to remain in their places of origin, without the obligation to migrate to cities due to lack of opportunities, or because life has become impossible, thus increasing the population of cities and therefore their pollution. What we do is something as easy and as complicated, as complex. At the same time, is providing access to water and sanitation. Why? Because when you are bringing water and sanitation to any community, you are not only bringing this, but as well you are bringing and providing education, health, gender equality, growth, work, sustainable communities, dignity and justice, so a real possibility of remaining in their own rural communities. Second concept that is very important for us is adaptation, how countries and communities will adapt to change. Most of the communities in which we develop projects have spent decades adapting to the harsh living conditions due to lack of water, excess of water, pollution, rise of temperature. So we provide solutions like the ones we do in India, for example, where the monsoons, due to climate change, are increasingly unpredictable in terms of time and in terms of quantity, and farmers no longer know when or what to plant. Because there are so many crops, I was saying, that need fairly exact periods of time for planting, and with the unpredictability of the monsoon, it becomes impossible to achieve. What we provide in these cases is, for instance, the constructions of small and medium-sized reservoirs, which not only accumulate water when it rains to guarantee its availability during the dry season, but also all the accumulated water drains into the water table, making huge areas that were previously completely arid. They become lush in vegetation, which again helps to compensate for CO2, and also allow that when it rains, much more water is used, and the enormous floods that happened before are avoided. Number 3 is financing. Who and how pays for all of these kind of solutions? In our case, and in the examples that I have mentioned, we co-finance all these projects, like building reservoirs, digging wells, making latrines, planting trees, making canals, drip irrigation systems, hygiene schools. We truly believe in public-private partnership. In fact, from our experience, is the one and only way to achieve the succeed in what we try to fix. This partnership and cooperation is crucial, but it's not the only fundamental thing. All this money without other concepts like training, give awareness to national, municipal, local governments, companies, teachers, students, communities as a whole, it will be absolutely meaningless. The commitment of the entities is crucial as well. And I'm not talking just the construction of the facilities of the infrastructures, but as well the complexity involved in providing access to water and sanitation in a sustained and sustainable way. The inclusion of the community in decision-making from the very first moment and throughout the whole process is crucial as well. And finally, it's also the responsibility of the community to take charge of maintenance and comprehensive management once the process is completed. And this is our main goal, to have a long-term vision to end the lack of water and sanitation in the world and undertake short, tangible, trustable actions, guaranteeing this access person by person, community by community, day by day. So this is what we do. Thank you so much.
Questions? Or... No hay preguntas?
All right.
Oh.